my name is Ethan Child, and today I will be talking about Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut. And for this review I've pulled out my Stanley Kubrick collection, as I don't own Eyes Wide Shut as an independent release. I don't really do DVD or Blu-ray release reviews. I really just want to review the movie itself. But I will just say really shortly that this Stanley Kubrick box set, I didn't have a Blu-ray player at the time, so this is the DVD edition, but I am aware that it's on Blu-ray as well. This is a great box set for anyone looking to start off a Kubrick collection, or anyone looking to start off any movie collection at all. It has his films from Spartacus through Eyes Wide Shut, and the reason I recommend it is because it includes the unrated version of Eyes Wide Shut. As I'm aware, many box sets do not. It also includes the Stanley Kubrick A Life in Pictures documentary, which is a great feature. Just an absolute all-around wonderful box set, and something that really started me off in my movie collecting. I did just mention something there that I would be remiss to not talk about, although I don't want to dwell on it for too long, and that is the censorship of Eyes Wide Shut. As I'm sure all of you know, after Kubrick's death, before the movie was released, the film was censored in the orgy scenes in the mansion. They were blocked out with different figures, and it really just looks absolutely horrendous. Just so you're all aware, I will be reviewing the unrated version, as any serious film viewer will have been careful to see. I believe Eyes Wide Shut to be Stanley Kubrick's most underrated movie. It is a man's sexual fantasy that was spawned by sexual jealousy. We see, after the argument scene between Bill and Alice, both expertly portrayed, I should add, by Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, we see that Bill is very jealous of his wife. He's jealous that other men are attracted to her, and that she is attracted to other men. From that scene onward, everything is perceived as a blur, as seems to be Kubrick's intention. The line between fantasy and reality from that point on is completely non-existent. It's been noted that from that point on, just about every person who Bill bumps into ends up being sexually attracted to him one way or another, both male or female. I believe all these scenarios are really occurring. However, the often ridiculous sexual attractions that are taking place are nothing more than projections of what Bill is fantasizing. An example of this is the woman Marion, played by Marie Richardson, whose father has just passed away in the movie. We see her profess her love to Bill, and she seemingly tries and fails to seduce him. The ridiculous element here is that this all happens in the same room as her father's corpse, literally right next to her father's deathbed. Now, it would make sense that this woman would be grieving and would be somewhat hysterical, and would even be in need of a possible hug from Bill, as she was so upset about her father passing. However, that's completely warped in our perception, how we perceive the scene. We see that her hysteria is because she'll be moving away and will be unable to see Bill from that point on. The attraction and affection the woman professes, and the kiss that we see the two share, is nothing more than a fantasy that Bill has. Throughout the movie, we see flashes of images of Alice having sex with the young naval officer who she explained in the argument scene that she had been sexually attracted to. This shows that this is what was constantly on Bill's mind throughout the movie, and it also serves to reinstate our entry into Bill's thoughts, dreams, and fantasies. This also serves to suggest Bill's sexual frustration. This same frustration can be noted when a gang walks by Bill in the street and shoves him into a vehicle and shouts derogatory comments at him. This represents Bill's thoughts of being weak against the other men that are in Alice's life. This film is far from the story of a man's journey, neither mental nor physical. Rather, it is the study of a sexually frustrated man put in various scenes and scenarios. These general scenarios include the temptations of the prostitute and the costume dealer's young, promiscuous daughter, the confusion of homosexuality, which lends us a brilliant performance from Alan Cumming, as well as even some comic relief, and perhaps most obscurely, the curiosity of a bizarre, polygamist sexual ritual hidden by a secrecy and conspiracy. Which brings me to the most controversial scene of the movie. The scene in the mansion is the most ambiguous when questioning what is reality and what is fantasy. I really do think that it is a reality. After being high all night and dangerously dipping into different sexual realms, Bill has finally reached something that is beyond anything he wanted, and he's finally put himself into a very dangerous situation. With all the secrets and threats going around, it has become something that is far more than Bill was asking for. However, I also believe that Bill becomes convinced that it was all a dream, partially thanks to the threats from the members of the society. This causes him to stop caring about the fate of the woman who saved him, which would explain the oft-criticized happy ending. He no longer cares about what became of this woman, who he was earlier so concerned about, because he believes it was nothing more than another fantasy. When Bill, unshown to the audience, explained to his wife the occurrences of the evening, he probably explains it all away as a dream, but at the same time is also explaining his sexual frustration, jealousy, and infidelity. As mentioned earlier, all these scenarios really happened. The sexual connotations, however, were simply extensions of Bill's fantasy. For example, an innocent conversation with a hotel desk clerk became as interpreted as flirting. The only scenario that is expressly and uniquely sexual is the orgy scene in the mansion, which could only serve to prove that the sex is happening in that scene is a reality. And when that sex is actually happening, things become dangerous and things frankly become ugly. This represents the harshness of the reality of the infidelity that Bill yearns for. As I said earlier, this is more than he asked for and more than he was expecting, and comes with far too many sacrifices for him to accept. One, of course, being his family, his wife, his daughter. The mask that Bill finds on his bed the next night represents his guilt for what he has done, or what he has at least dreamt of. This is why he feels the need to break down and explain everything to his wife. This mask, as an actual physical article that continues to exist the next day, serves as further proof that the sex that was happening in this scene, and the entire scene itself, must have been a reality within the film. The more astute of you will have noticed that I've assessed the orgy scene as both a reality and a fantasy. Is this being inconsistent? My answer is yes. The truth is, no one, as much as they want to analyze Kubrick, will ever be able to decide if it's a reality or a fantasy, and that's true for many of his movies. Even Kubrick himself could not tell you about his own story whether it is a fantasy or a reality. No one could decide that entirely. That's because it is meant to be in a dreamlike world that is neither fantasy nor reality. Kubrick has created this whole new philosophy within his movies that is beyond our understanding, and beyond his own understanding. I do have a quote here that I'd like to read, and it is my all-time favorite quote about film. It's from Stanley Kubrick himself. The quote reads, "A film is, or should be, more like music than like fiction. It should be a progression of moods and feelings. The theme, what's behind the emotion, the meaning, all that comes later." I believe that Eyes Wide Shut, second only to 2001: A Space Odyssey, best shows this quote. It best illustrates this quote. The plot of Eyes Wide Shut is inconsistent, and you don't really care about it. It's the themes, it's the changing moods, the changing emotions that you care about. That's a point I was trying to stress earlier. This movie is not about the character of Bill. It's about the situations he's being put into. The character of Bill winds up being a straight man. He's simply just this passive character, but it's the characters he bumps into, and he simply serves as a vehicle for us to analyze different aspects of the world around him, particularly in this film, sex. That is why so many of the so-called bit parts are played by brilliant actors and clearly have developed characters. My favorite part to comment on of this movie, as I've probably already made clear by the couple times that I've already mentioned it, is Alan Cummings as the desk clerk. That is my favorite part of the movie because it perfectly shows how this character that could be so passive if anyone else directed it becomes this developed character. That concludes my review for Eyes Wide Shut. I tried to keep this one a little bit on the shorter side. I stayed more to the point. I believe that Eyes Wide Shut is one of the most brilliant movies ever made, as well as all of the films of Stanley Kubrick. I recommend each and every single one of them. Every single one of them is a masterpiece. Hopefully I'll be reviewing some more Kubrick movies. I know I don't really have any sort of an established audience with these movie review videos yet, but if anyone out there watching has any sort of suggestion that they'd like me to review, you can go ahead and comment it, you can message me, whatever you'd want, and I'd be more than happy to respond, I'd be more than happy to review it. Thank you very much for watching, I hope you enjoyed this review, and I hope that if you have not yet seen Eyes Wide Shut, that I've inspired you to watch it, and if you do watch it, I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Thank you.